We now move to an internationally renowned fashion designer. Her name is Alecca Carrano. And Alecca is going to speak about the challenges she is facing working with the fashion fraternity in India. So, without further ado, I'll invite Alecca on stage to speak about her challenges as an international designer who brings a lot of international know-how to the country and working with artisans and craftspeople over here, but the challenges that she's facing. So this comes under the right every wrong action pillar, and I think it's going to be a hard speech.
Good evening, everyone. Afternoon. I'm very happy, proud to be here and speak to you about my story. I'm a fashion designer, not as interesting as so many of you. I'm only a fashion designer. I was born in Lebanon from a very mixed family of Greeks, Turks, Palestinians, and Lebanese, of course. We left Lebanon, where we had settled for a few generations, when the war started, and we were forced to, of course, leave, and settled in Austria eventually, where I ended up growing up and doing all my schooling. I went to the French school in Vienna, and then I went to study fashion design in New York City, where I settled, got married, and started my business very early, and created my own brand, which is Alecca Carrano. My story is that I have 20 years, I launched, I'm an entrepreneur, I've never worked for anyone, and after so many years, we have decided to move our family, 3 children, 3 girls, my husband and I, to India. We believe in a global world. We believe that our children should be raised knowing about different cultures and embracing them just the way I did and my husband did in our bringing up. Moving to India was a huge challenge, very exciting. I had been working with India for 20 years in my profession, but I had never really, thought of moving here or dreamt of moving here, but eventually, as the world turned and, things evolved, it looked like the right place to come to. And I am very happy of the decision we made to come to India. It's been extremely enriching for all of us. My children call India home, and I'm happy and proud of how we have managed to do this. I participated as a fashion designer in many, many fashion weeks all over the world, whether it's Paris, New York, in Dubai, in Sri Lanka, all over. And I was never asked what country I come from, or, when I applied as a company, as a designer, I sent in my application and I was either accepted or refused, but never, based on my heritage or my origins or my religion or whatever. So we arrived in India, we set our businesses, we invested a lot of money. I invested a lot of money to start my company, employed, of course, only Indians, taught them my skill, taught them my know-how, what I have learned, and brought with me my heritage, my culture, my traditions, and mixed it all in and made my own melting pot. I applied to participate in the local fashion week because it is more convenient, number one. Number two, I am an Indian business, I pay taxes in India. I should be able to sell my product in India. That is the logical thinking, which is applicable all over the world, except for this country, unfortunately. In India, you cannot participate in the fashion week unless you are of Indian origin. I only managed to make the fashion industry body admit to that officially by writing it on their website. It took me 4 years to actually write it on the first page of their website. this is a, Indian whatever organization to encourage Indian fashion design, and you may apply only if you are Indian or of Indian origin, which is very respectable, but it is not applicable in reality. The world is opening up, all countries are open to, many different talents, and we all are moving from here to there, and Indians are moving also abroad and participating wherever they wish to participate. But it is not applicable here. So I fought the FDCI and I did not win. All I won was that they finally made it, let's say, official that they do not wish to have foreigners apply in their organization or participate in the Fashion Week here. So that is my little, the small war battle I won against this big war that I hopefully my children will see to win. I was told to go back to my country, to go back to my country, that I'm not needed here. This is actually a real phone conversation I had with these people who told me, you have come to the wrong place. We don't need you here. We have enough fashion designers, things like that. Please go back to your country. And so I said, no, but I'm here, I was never told to go back to my country, from any country that I lived in. But they said, well, this is, not going to work. You have to go back to your country. So I stayed, and I still love this country, and my children love this country. It was a very hard discrimination sentiment that I had to overcome. But of course, as an immigrant, you go through these phases. Nothing has changed. I'm still sitting here, just growing older and waiting for the FDCI to open up to foreign designers, and hoping that by speaking here to you and to other people, to journalists, I spoke to the head of Vogue India yesterday, told her my story, and of course everyone says, I'm going to speak to somebody, I know so-and-so, but that's not how it's going to happen. It will happen when the country will open up to immigration and allow new cultures to come here and allow the exchange to flow evenly to enrich everybody globally. That's my aim.
Thank you, Aleka. So we'll open the floor to questions for Aleka. Any questions for Aleka? You've heard her story. Yes, Simon.
Hi. First of all, I would like to congratulate you that you've made it so far, and I want to tell you that you're welcome to our country, and we would want you here. That's the first thing I would want to say, and I think that the people who are trying to tell you to go back are probably scared of your talent, and that's the reason why they're asking you to go.
Very welcome in this country. This is a very minute group of people who are afraid of and who have never encountered healthy competition. So I'm, this country, had I not felt welcome, I wouldn't be here. I'm still here. This is, it's been years that this happened, and I'm still here, and I'm planning to stay. And my children go and study abroad because, they want to. And their idea is just to finish their degrees in universities abroad and to come back to India. So we have, I have achieved something, is to make them love the country as much as I love it. And
so, my question to you is, when you were, during your struggle, when you had that war with FDCI, so during that time, is there a certain law, or is it just a FDCI criteria which prohibits you? So in that case, is it possible to start a separate fashion body on its own and launch a thing? Is it possible? Because
you have good thinking. There was another fashion body that started, and I was invited to participate in that. He was boycotted, and we only lasted 2 seasons, and then he was shut down. He went bankrupt, actually. All sponsors pulled out, etc., because it was a political war.
Who was this person?
Sumit Nair. Sumit Nair opened Fashion Week in 2009. He invited
Delhi Fashion Week, you know?
Yes, it was called Delhi Fashion Week.
Yeah.
And now it's the other one. Anyway, there was no, I applied 4 years in a row. It's a big, it's a lot of work, this application. It's like a book. You put together a book and you have to write and you have to send pictures and you put together a whole huge thing. It takes a few months of preparation. And I sent in this application 4 times. And 4 times I got rejections over the phone via secretaries, and never a written letter saying you are rejected, because I know I know that I'm eligible. I have 25 years of experience as a fashion designer, as an entrepreneur, and I know that I'm a senior designer, so it is not, I can only be accepted. So I was rejected and never by a letter. So I'm sorry, your application is rejected. This was always over the phone. And I accepted that for 3 years. The 4th year, I did not accept a rejection over the phone. I called the president himself and I said, listen, I need to know what's going on here. I want to be rejected based on something. I could not understand. By that time, I had met all Indian designers, best designers in India, and I spoke to them about my case. And all of them were on the board of FDCI, and all promised me that they're going to put in a good word for me. But if, nobody ever mentioned, you are a foreigner, you may not apply. So finally, when I spoke to the president, he's the one who told me, please go back to your country, we don't need you here. And, of course, that was extremely painful to hear. Being an immigrant my whole life, I've learned, all the languages of every country that I migrated to, and I became part of the country, and I called all those countries my home. But this, I had never heard anything like that. So for me, it was a huge shock. And finally, I closed the phone, and I said, okay, finished, peace. I would look for peace, and I would manage without. But it is not right. There's something wrong with it, as Indian designers go to Paris and apply and run and do fashion weeks in New York, and it should be reciprocal, and it is not. It's wrong.
So are there others like you, so that we can a separate fashion body can be created and it can hold its own fashion shows separate from
Yes, there are a few others. There is actually a Norwegian designer who's been here as long as me and who has pretty much the same story as me. She has given up fashion design, which is very sad, She's doing other work now. Because, of course, it's extremely handicapping, It's a huge challenge to sell fashion in India without having access to the buyers who come to India, to international buyers who come here. So we have to catch them somehow, other than being in the trade show like just everybody else, like, regular competition. So it's very difficult, but we are a few designers, and we are planning to do a small, step by step. I am very positive. I'm not, I have not given up. I cannot. This is the only thing I know how to do is fashion design, so I'm not going to give up. We are planning a small entity, but it is not a fashion week, and it will be difficult to bridge, between the FDCI. It's a big body. It's very powerful, and it's politically powerful. To do any activity or event near it at the same time of it would mean dealing with police, with corruption, with problems, and we as foreigners don't know how to do that and are not interested. We are not interested, so it will be a big fight.
Yes, thank you, Simar. Thank you, Alecca. Vivek, he's a Supreme Court lawyer. Maybe he can help you out, right?
Somebody?
I'm a lawyer, and I need to ask you one question.
Yes.
Have you accepted India's citizenship?
I have not. I don't need to.
No.
I accept it.
Only then you can have a right in that organization. Because unless you become the Indian citizen, if it is for the Indian citizens and people of Indian origin,
Yes.
they cannot allow you.
Correct.
For a applying in that organization, you have to accept the India's citizenship. Or you have to prove that they are allowing other international designers at their forum.
I'm sorry, they have to prove that...
You have to prove.
I have to prove.
You have to prove that they are allowing other international designers at their
No,
forum.
Vivek,
They are not.
Discriminating against you.
Vivek, just to interject, I don't think that is what Alecca is doing. They are not allowing other international designers to participate also, but what she's saying is that Indian designers participate in shows overseas, so there has to be a reciprocal. So this is the hypocrisy. This is the hypocrisy that we want to usurp their systems, but don't want to open our system. That's what she's talking about.
Is there any other organization which allows foreign designers in India?
That's exactly, she's not talking about India, she's talking about how Indian designers go and participate in the New York or the Paris for Fashion Week. So that means that they should also not be allowed there until and unless they take up
There can be other organizations who can allow the foreign designers, not just one. In India, there is they are just one organization. There can be many other organizations.
Yeah, but they are the premier body, so that is what. And like I said, if the Rohit Bals and the other designers over here want to go and participate in the New York Fashion Week or the Paris Fashion Week, it doesn't mean that they have to become French citizens or American citizens. So I think the argument is a little not in favor of a quid pro quo situation here. Any other questions?
I will raise just one comment.
Yes, Mr. Chaudhary.
Actually, in defense of your very compelling case, I am not aware of any other Indian association which has such discrimination. NESCOM had a choice to allow only Indian IT companies to be a part of NESCOM, or anybody doing software in India being a part of NESCOM. They wanted to take global competition head on because they had global leadership as their aspiration and vision. FCSI not accepting you is an index of their low vision and myopic aspirations. So I'm sure if they have to grow, they have to admit you first, otherwise how can they compete with the world?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chaudhary.
you.
So thank you. Pleasure having Alecca with us. You may feel free to interact with her over tea. Thank you, Alecca. That is for you.